Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sorry, that was very loud.
Your test failed.
Yeah, I was actually a good test taker. I was not good at doing homework and studying, but I was really good at taking tests. Like standardized tests, super easy. Does Canada have standardized tests you have to take? Like the long multiple choice ones that like help you get into college or whatever?
Actually, it's funny because I was just in recently in a pub with Ritsu, and the new insult that he's using on people, which is really weird, and I assume it's because he started going to college or something. But the new insult that he's using on people is he's insulting them their SAT scores. He's like, "Oh, we got a bunch of 1400 SAT scoring white people in here," and it's like so specific. It's so specific, and it sounds like I'm joking, but this guy's not kidding. Like it's Ritsu. Everybody knows Ritsu's not gonna just be making like ironic jokes about that sort of stuff. But I never did it because I went to a Canadian university. So if you're going to an American university,
you have to take it for sure.
You do have to take it, yeah.
Yeah.
But to get into the university that I went to, which is called Waterloo University, I did by accident do something that's kind of like a test for them. Like they said on their application, they say like if you do these things like extracurricular, we look highly on it. So there was this like math competition, and I was like a pretty bad kid in high school. Like smoked weed and just played games. It didn't really care about like the whole getting good grades or anything. Didn't think about that at all, which is a huge mistake, by the way. It's not a good thing. It was very bad. I wish I cared more. But I did this math competition just because you got to skip class if you did it. And I actually ended up doing pretty decent on it. I got in like I got into like a percentile. Me and one of my best friends at the time got into like a high percentile in it. And then we got to move on to the next competition. And the school that I got into happened to look really highly on that. And that's so lucky because I literally only did it because it got me out of class. That is the only reason. And I would constantly go like donate blood to get out of class. I would constantly go like to university tours to get out of class. I swear to God, if you look at my record from high school, it looks like I'm like a really good student. It's like, oh, he donated blood. What a great guy. But it's like, okay, free cookies, free juice boxes. And by the way, I would take 2 or 3 of those cookies and juice boxes when you're only allowed to have one. And visiting all these schools. I was just a horrible student, but I guess I got very lucky. Very lucky.
Interesting. Yeah, SATs were a big thing for me in the States. I remember they had like all these SAT prep classes and everybody was studying for it. Basically what it is like
what's a low score on SAT? Is 1400 a low score?
So I mean when I took it, so back in the day, I think the max was like I want to say 1600 was the max back in the day, but then they added a third category that was also worth 800 points, and so like 2400 was the max or something like that. And so if they're still using that one, then yeah, 1400 is really low because it'd be 14 out of like 2400, which is
so that's why Ritsu was using that as an insult. By the way, it was bullshit because I look the reason he was flaming is because the game was going horribly, but his lane, he was Wraith King level 3 versus a level 6 Beastmaster who randomed. It was like a rank 400 Beastmaster. He's like a rank 20 Wraith King, and then he was flaming the other lanes. I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And they bring up SAT scores and shit. It's weird, man.
Wait, okay. So let's see. What is the average SAT score? I'm looking this up. This is definitely what people came to our channel for.
Yes, exactly. SAT prep.
So it looks like they might have done away with the other one. Wait, okay. Average SAT score by school type. Okay, averages come from 2016 and use the old 2400 point SAT scale. So yeah, back when I was taking the SATs, it was 2400 points.
Okay. So
but
16.
It looks like they got rid of. So it was 800 for math, 800 for reading comprehension, and then there was a writing component, which was basically like you had to write an essay, and then that was scored out of 800 points. And so now it looks like they've gotten rid of the writing and it's just the reading, comp, and math. So max score is 1600. So 1400 is pretty fucking good.
1400 is pretty good.
Yeah.
He should. That's not insulted.
Yeah. 1400's not bad these days.
But you also have to consider that Ritsu's just like a blatant racist. I mean, we all know with the C9 dropping the N-word thing where they were out of. Thank God they're back in Dota, by the way. I'm shocked that they're back.
Yeah.
But so maybe he was saying 1400 scoring white people, as in like privileged sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like if that's where he was going, because I know he goes there with a lot of his like pub insulting, which I mean it's fine. It's like, I guess, if you're gonna just make up random insults on people, like that's just as random as the next one.
Sure.
How did I end up in Waterloo when I was bad in high school? That's a very good question that I asked myself a lot in university, because I wasn't good at doing any of that. I constantly ask myself, these people are all smarter than me. What am I doing here? Crippling depression is online. It is indeed. It is indeed. Do you want to get into the old patron questions?
The old alchemy answers? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, shall we?
Was I one of those creepy lonely guys? Don't hate on the lonely guys, man. Come on. That's mean.
He definitely was.
No, I wasn't. I was a clown, man. I was a clown. If anything, people thought I was annoying, but
nothing's changed there. So
you're not wrong.
Welcome to Alchemy Answers, episode 69. We have made it all the way to the peak of our podcast. We have done 68 episodes. This is number 69. We have answered how many questions by now? Probably at least probably close to 1,000, if not more.
It's getting there.
So thank you to all of our patrons for the continued great questions. I think that our questions are getting better and better every single week, which is really cool. And to thank you guys for doing that, we are going to be adding a new benefit for every single Patreon role. So if you are a patron, this will be a new benefit every single month, which is that we are going to be doing an unlisted sort of like private Patreon stream once a month where you guys can tune in. We'll give you an unlisted stream link and you can choose. We're going to be duo queuing. Me and Jenkins probably playing in the offlane, and you guys get to choose what our hero combo is and who plays what heroes. So if you want to make Jenkins play techies, if you want to make me play Meepo, you'll probably be able to do that. It's going to be ugly. It's probably going to be hilarious. You're going to see some tilt, but you guys will all get to do that at our expense and not yours. So just wanted to thank you guys for sticking with us and supporting Dota Alchemy with this new Patreon benefit. And like I said, it's for any tier. So whether you're a $3 up to $24 tier patron, we appreciate your support, and this is our small way of giving you guys a little bit extra value.
Well, technically it is at their expense.
That's true.
it's just also at ours.
It's true. Mutual annihilation is what we strive for.
We're gonna have some sort of voting system in there. I think people can put in their memes, and we'll vote for the best meme. Okay, let's start the old questions. So first, we have Eleanor, who says, mid-related question: what do you think are the better mid laners when the enemy team has last pick advantage? Speaking of good questions, Donnie, this is a very good question. For me, it's Lina, Puck, OD, and Razor. What do you think about this subject? So
these are the heroes that you want to pick if you're going to get counterpicked 100%?
Yes, the enemy team has last pick, and there's going to be some Timbersaw, some Huskar, some Meepo. These bullshit heroes are going to be coming out.
I mean, I definitely like the ideas of both Puck and Lina. Those are pretty safe picks. They don't have to carry the game. Hopefully you have a carry that will be able to do that.
I think Lean is better. I feel
Yeah.
like Puck is more counterable by like a TA or a Huskar would destroy Puck.
Sure.
Alina, there's nothing that really deals with Alina
How
in
do
the
you
mid
feel?
lane.
How do you feel about a ninth pick Huskar? I feel like there aren't a whole lot of things that will just straight up own you in lane. Kunkka seems relatively good. Just because he's easy to recover with, even against an OD, you just
I
farm
mean,
jungle stacks.
if you're good at Huskar, sure. I would say that for me, the second the whenever I'm picking a hero that's gonna be counterpicked, or has the opportunity to be counterpicked, I always try to give myself an option if I do get counterpicked. So, for example, when I'm playing offlane, I'll pick like Centaur who can cut the wave. I'll pick Earthshaker who can fissure the wave. Or my hero will be really good against their supports, the other heroes that they've already picked. So I know that I can kind of have a good game by picking on those heroes a little bit if I have to. You
Right.
just want to give yourself as many options as possible. And that's why I really like Lina over Puck, because worst case scenario, Lina can just push the wave, stun the person who's going to own you in the mid lane, and then go run to the jungle. Even like a Broodmother or Meepo, Lina can kind of deal with if you're good enough at it, because she has an AoE stun, she has AoE creep clear. Lena's like the best. That's what that hero is picked for in the mid lane. Ember is another really good one. Void Spirit.
Yep.
Because these heroes can recover by just being really active and ganking and being high skill. So it just depends on what you're comfortable with. Storm is also okay as well, where you just need to play for the right timing if you get countered, and know that you basically are in like recovery mode. You're just in like, try not to feed the guy who's picking the last pick cancer bullshit, and you're probably going to win the game.
Yeah, I actually don't hate. I was gonna say I don't hate Invoker, but I guess you could just get brooded and game's over at that point.
I don't hate Invoker too much either. I feel like the fact that you have these two different builds you can do on him makes him good, decent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but basically what you're looking at is just heroes that have the ability to not play the lane and jungle their way back into the game, or heroes that have sort of like a different timing that isn't really that reliant on them having a good game, where like
Right, they can just kind of get XP in the lane and
right.
then own the other lanes like Ember Spirit or Pango or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yep. Basically heroes that aren't dependent on just winning the lane. Or heroes that can just win the lane, no matter what. Okay. Bradley Dragon. This will be good. I feel like Razor is not a good mid, to be honest. I've tried it a lot. Unless you're super good at diving their tower and not dying, you would be better off safe or offlane. Okay, he's just telling Eleanor that Razor's a shitty mid, which I disagree with. I think Razor's a fine mid. RX Cowbell, what do you do as a support when you find yourself in a constant warding and dewarding battle against the enemy support? All right, Donnie, take it away.
I mean, that's kind of your job as a support, is to be in a warding battle against the enemy supports. If what you mean, I'm going to interpret this how I think you mean it, which is that you place a ward on the high ground, it gets dewarded. They place a ward on the high ground, you deward that. You place a ward back on that high ground, they deward it. And the answer there is stop warding the same spot. Be creative with your wards. Use a smoke to place a ward somewhere that they won't expect it. It's fine to solo smoke. Place multiple wards. Put a ward that covers an area. Put another ward that also kind of covers that area. Let them deward one. There's a second one there that's going to cover it anyway. You can totally get like next level with your warding, and just like I said, just be creative. I really don't think that you should ever be in this spot where you're like constantly being dewarded in the same spot over and over. That should never happen in a game unless you're just being extremely lazy.
Yeah, I would say my best advice to you is ward in less common areas. There's actually a lot of really good ward spots on the map, more than people think. Like the problem is everybody tries to put wards in like a square within the actual full square of the map. Nobody really places wards in the side lanes for whatever reason, because a lot of people are greedy with their wards. They'll place all of these jungle wards where you can place one sentry and deward like an entire jungle.
Mm-hmm.
and that's what people do. So I would say like place wards directly in the river, place wards in lanes, place wards on like in the enemy team's high ground, just giving you like a sliver of vision. You just need to place the more creative wards, and those ones like never get dewarded.
Yep.
Never.
Yep.
Especially if you have to use like a quelling blade in order to set up the ward or to like give the ward good vision. Then those will just got to be creative with the wards, and they're not going to get dewarded. I don't even think you need to look for warding positions. I think we're obviously guilty of this as content creators, because a lot of what we do is trying to chase the algorithm and trying to chase views and what people want. But I personally think like a warding guide doesn't make any sense. I think that
It's so game dependent based on what's happening.
It's game dependent based on what's happening. It's also like there aren't common deward spots. It's just people are placing sentries that are dewarding the largest area of the jungle in its circles, so they're trying to get them to not intersect that much, so they're not wasting sentry space. So because of that, there are warding spots, but it's not like these are the spots that you have to ward because it's broken or something like that. It just happens that's how people are placing their sentries. And
Yeah, I do want to say, sorry to interrupt, but
no problem.
I was watching an AUI stream a couple weeks ago, and he was like extremely self-critical about his rate of D-wards. He's like, I bought like 18 sentries and only got like 4 D-wards, and he was all pissed about that. He's like, that rate is very low, or something like that. So if you really want to, take your warding to the next level, be critical of how many D-wards you're getting with these sentries. Don't just, throw away 75 gold constantly as a support. Every little bit matters, and you want to make it count.
It's a lot based on like where would the enemy team have had time to go.
Yep.
Based on their positioning.
Yep.
Could they have gone this deep into my jungle? No, we would have seen them. Okay, well now you have this area that the enemy wards are going to be restricted to. So just take that area and try to place the sentries like it's a puzzle there to deward that entire area. And that's why I said that it's like different depending on the game, because the area that the enemy team has entered into and the area that they're looking to control and so forth, that all depends entirely on the game. It's not like this person's like, oh, I'm going to go place a ward in this ward spot here or this D ward spot here. It's like they get as deep as they can. In a 7K game, you just have supports getting as deep as they can with the smoke or whatever, with whatever thing that they can use, and placing the ward in the best place that they can put it to get the most vision without getting dewarded. So there's these constant sacrifices that people are making on one side of the spectrum or the other, where either they're getting no vision, or the vision because it's only a sliver of vision, but it's deep vision, or it's not deep enough vision, but it's this huge area. There's sacrifices that, and it's like a moving target essentially.
Yep.
And it's a lot of it is just instinct, and I would say keep it simple with warding. It's like if people are dewarding your stuff on high grounds, stop putting it on high grounds. It's as simple as that. Put it in the river, put it on the ground, put it in lanes.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Uga Chaka says, I have noticed recently that it's quite easy to end up getting more than 20 and 30 MMR per match. Oh, good. We're going to talk about this. Although that is only supposed to happen to Smurfs. I find that when this happens to me quite often, if I go on a win streak with consistently good stats, even though it is nice to get plus 90 MMR from a single match, do you think it is healthy to game this in terms of MMR inflation? Do you think that MMR inflation matters, or is it just a way for Valve to trick players into thinking they're improving? Okay. I think their Smurf detection system is just broken because it's new. I think if somebody is going to gain 90 MMR for a match because the Smurf detection thinks that they're a Smurf and that they're not, you will at some point lose that. It will eventually even out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they turn Smurf detection off. Would you still be at that MMR? I doubt it, unless you actually improved. But just because you added 90 to an arbitrary number doesn't mean your skill got 3 times better because of that win. That doesn't make sense. And the Smurf detection system was just added to the game.
Yep.
So there is absolutely no way that this is already a flawless system that is just thinking you're a Smurf because you're so good that you must be a Smurf. And I'm not referring to specifically you, because I know this is happening to other people. I know this is happening to Henry. Henry's been getting that on stream where he gets plus 120 MMR for a single match. So I know this is like a problem right now. And some people have the attitude that it's detecting them as the Smurf because they're good and not because it's broken. When in my opinion, it's very unlikely that a brand new system is just broken. You know?
Yeah, I mean, for a while I've kind of wanted them to come up with a system that allows you to climb a little bit faster than like one game at a time. Let's say you have some big breakthrough, maybe you master some hero and suddenly you go on like a 15-20 game winning streak. Like, that's cool. I feel like maybe that is worth more than just like the MMR that you normally get, 30 times 20 or whatever.
Sure.
But at the same time, I can see a lot of ways that
that's not Smurf detection, though.
Right.
Right. I agree with what you said, but that's not detecting a Smurf.
Yeah.
Smurf is a specific thing,
Yeah, I'm just
but
saying.
I do agree. I do agree, though. I totally agree. I
wish there was more movement in the MMR system.
Having smarter matchmaking, having smarter MMR increase. Yes, I totally agree with that. But that has to be a separate system to the Smurf detection.
Yes.
Because the Smurf detection is not about that person's MMR. Nobody gives a fuck about Smurfs. Smurfs can go fuck themselves, to be quite frank. It's about the people whose games the Smurfs are ruining.
Yep.
Not the Smurfs' MMR.
Yep.
So all the Smurf detection needs to do is get these people the hell out of games that they're ruining. Yep. That's what that's supposed to do. But I totally agree that there could be a lot more complexity when it comes to, assuming like a perfect system. Let's say it's like some AI operated thing where it's like learning as games happen and giving people these kind of like seemingly arbitrary amounts based on these random measurements of success within a game. Maybe you lose and you don't lose as much because it can detect that the game's not as on you. That would be cool.
Right.
Obviously very complicated, but that would be really cool. And I don't know, maybe someday.
I'm also just kind of thinking like, okay, so let's say you get to like 6.5k MMR or something like that, and then the meta shifts, or you just like stop playing a lot, and then you come back and you have like a constant 43% win rate. Like, that's not very good. You're going to go down, but you're not going to go down that fast in the current system. And so instead of rapidly going to your actual skill level, you're going to basically just like be able to kind of sit in this MMR range that you've probably been at for a while, but still just constantly losing games. And I feel like that should maybe be something that is improved to some extent. But again, it's hard because like where do you draw the line?
Exactly. That's why I just like I like there's so many ways that you can complicate things, and sometimes I find it's just better to go with like the simplest option and let, in terms of MMR, like let the number of games that somebody's playing work it out eventually. Like for example, like sure, there's Smurfs, there's boosters, there's all of this bullshit, but if I'm an 8K player and I play enough games, I will get 8K.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. If my teammates are idiots every game, but I'm a good player, I just play enough and I'm going to get 8K. Yep. Unless there's some other shit in the system that's giving people plus 120 or giving me minus 120. When there are inconsistencies in the system, then that might not be true.
Right.
That's the only problem with that. I really like it simple. I want to go back to the simple matchmaking. I preferred that. I want to go back to the simple MMR. I'm glad they removed solo and party. I'm glad they removed core and support. I really like this simplification of the game. I like that there's one leaderboard now. I like that I can look at a support's MMR, a support's rank, and they were ranked 20 as a support, and now all of a sudden I look and they're ranked 120, and it's like, well, okay, you had this cool looking number in front of your name for a long time.
It was fake.
It's just because all the core players weren't calibrating support, and all the support players were calibrating core. So how could you judge the number? The support 20 looks the same as the core 20,
Right.
But now it's the same. It's simplified. We can actually judge our numbers versus each other, and you couldn't do that before in High Immortal. So that's what I prefer. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, Snowy says, "What is the most underrated item to use while in Pangolier's Rolling Thunder?" Very specific. The classic items like Yules allow for some stun lock, but don't allow you to secure hitting them in the first place. Blink can be canceled by backliners like Sniper. Could Force Staff be viable? Interesting. It allows you to get on top of enemies unexpectedly, and you can. How does it even work when you're rolling? Does it just make you force in the rolling
Probably.
angle wherever you're? So yada yada. 10 intelligence helps with mana problems. Thoughts also. Spider legs and flicker can be used during Rolling Thunder for the memes.
Spider legs is actually really good during Rolling Thunder because you can.
Does it make it so that you can roll through cliffs?
You just roll over cliffs, and then you don't have to worry about bouncing off of stuff. So
that's pretty cool.
I actually think that Spider legs is quite good on Pangolier.
Let me look at the items because I'm guilty of not playing that much Pango. I probably should play more.
Remember when you were on your Pangolier extravaganza and you were trying to learn Pangolier?
I did get much better at Pango from that. I can actually play Pango now despite not playing that much of it.
Okay, so it basically just makes you dash forward in ball form if you use Force Staff.
Okay.
I would still say that Blink is probably the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Diffusal is one of the more common ones. You can diffuse somebody, and it's easy setup for the roll. And then obviously, it combos with the Q ability as well.
I guess you could also Abyssal Blade, because you can blink to somebody with the Abyssal Blade and then stun them with the ball or something. Although it seems kind of doubling up on it, so I don't know.
Yeah, it is because technically a blink, you would stun them with the ball anyway.
Right.
And it's like the Abyssal stuns, but the ball stuns at the same time too. So
right.
It does seem like a little bit of a waste. No, I think that hero's been pretty figured out. I hate to say it, but there are so many Pangolier spammers out there.
Yeah.
That people are pretty aware of what the strong items are. Like the clumsy net obviously is a good neutral item if you can get it. Spider legs as we talked about. Flicker, that's kind of rolling the dice there with that one, but Fallen Sky, if you can pick up Fallen Sky, once again, that's doubling up on the same thing, but that's still gonna be fine. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you, but I'll tell you, I feel like the Force Staff thing is kind of reaching. It's like it's trying to be too. If you're like a position 4 Pango, then Force Staff is just a good item in general, and I wouldn't say it's good because it does anything with your Rolling Thunder though.
Yeah.
It's just like if it's good, it's because it's just a good item.
Yeah, basically. I would agree.
Okay. Pegasus says your replay reviews have been really helpful recently. That's really good to hear. It's nice to get feedback on that because I have no idea usually. I don't know about you, Donnie.
Yeah.
I've gained 500 MMR in the last 3 weeks. That's insane. It's hard to hear the critiques about my worst games without showing off some moves in my best games, but it makes me focus on a couple of new things every week. That's really good to hear. Currently holding 80% win rate over the last 35 matches, so thanks for the tough love, fellas. That is fucking amazing to hear, dude. That is insane. What are your plans to handle demand as replay review starts getting more popular? Oh, this is a good question. It's one of my favorite pieces of Alchemy content. I always look forward to it, even before I joined Patreon. Well, appreciate that.
Yeah, we've had to think about this a lot, where we still don't really have a good solution. We might have to do a second day. Like, if we were to somehow, get another, 100 replay review patrons or something like that, we would probably have to just start adding days of replay review, because there's no way that we're going to go back to doing, 5 or 6 hour streams.
No, that's not I don't think that's particularly good for our mental health, and I also don't think that's good for the actual value that we're giving to people. I think at the end of 2 to 3 hours, it's really easy to start just being tired because you're talking constantly for 2 hours straight and covering the similar subjects. So you can't think of different way to reword the same thing for somebody else who, obviously somebody might be just watching their part of the replayer view. So that's always the thing for me, is like somebody might be just watching to see like what we said about theirs. So they maybe didn't see what we said about earlier people, but then there are people who are also watching for the entire duration and they want to hear something different. So it's like you try to give like a different lesson or reword it in a way that it's like a little different or gives some other value. It's a weird thing, but I think probably what we're going to do is just do as many as we can on the day and then do whoever we can. And then anybody who missed it, we'll do them first on the very next one. That's basically, I think, what we. So basically, we'll get to everybody like at least once, probably per 2 weeks. And if I don't know if we get like a shitload more patrons, might be like once per month. But
yeah, I mean that's what the Patreon goal says, is you get one a month, but we just do more because
why not?
Because we can
Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah, I mean, from like a business point of view, it's pretty reasonable, I think, to want to keep your people happy. It's like if we can just do it for an hour longer and get people a couple of times per month and people feel like they get more value, that makes me feel a lot better, even though it's technically it's like we said one per month, but it's like it's no big deal. Okay. Uga Chaka says, when playing Meepo, for God's sakes, he's fucking me up with his name. Is it better to farm the jungle plus lane yourself while also letting the enemy mid get farm? Or is it better to only farm the wave and let the enemy mid get minimal farm? For example, I played a game where I had 122 CS at 10 minutes. I don't even know if that's good. Enemy morph had 69. Should I have sacrificed my farm in order to get some denies? I would say no. I would definitely say no. Like this hero,
he's a timing hero that needs to get specific items as quickly as possible.
I totally agree. Right. I totally agree. I think you're playing for that like ethereal blade timing, and you're playing for 3 Meepos, and you just get to that as soon as possible. It's their job to stop you. It's not your job to stop them. And I think that timing is so strong that they can't. It would be different if somebody picked something they could actually beat that timing, but there isn't anything. Alchemist doesn't, Broodmother doesn't. None of these heroes will outfarm a Meepo. So no, you just farm.
Yeah, I mean, I think even then, you probably still don't want to spend a bunch of time like making your game worse to deny them farm. I think that's always just like not a good option when you are playing a hero that is a game-winning hero. I think the whole point of picking a game-winning hero is that you have the best game possible as quickly as possible.
It's your team's job to stop that guy from farming, not yours.
Yes.
You're the win condition. Just be the win condition.
Exactly.
Okay, Hawkillionaire says, Jenkins, in a recent BSJ replay review, he mentioned that playing with Universe in a pub, and he said that he never felt so carried by an offlaner. How does that make you feel? Well, that makes me feel pretty funny because BSJ is an offlaner, so I guess he never carries himself, which is shocking. And then number 2, Universe is probably my favorite player, so I he's a golden god. And
he's also a position 4 player now, so
I accept that. Yeah, that's true. But he's just a golden god. He's just so consistent, so good. TI winner. What can I say? He's a fucking genius. Okay, Stain Chip says, on carry heroes that can't really jungle well, how do you approach farming your first big item like Battle Fury when the enemy team has kill potential on you in all of the lanes in the early game? I understand that this is often a drafting issue. I agree. But in some games, my team won't pick supports early in the draft, so I'll end up picking and getting countered in lanes. This has been a big issue for me lately, and I would love some advice on this. I will lose 200 fucking gold before I get countered in lane.
Yep.
Every time. And I have no issues. I have no issues with this. I would rather have less regen and send out an extra salve than to have my entire game go horrendously because I didn't I picked my hero and they countered me. Like there are certain games you just can't play. You can't play anti-mage versus Meepo. That is an unplayable matchup.
Yep.
There's tons of unplayable matchups. If you're a carry and you can't farm in any lane and you have no way of jungling, I have no idea what you do.
Yeah, I mean,
No idea. You need to have like 3 heroes protecting you in a lane while you farm. But then you're fucked if you do that.
yeah, I mean, I guess you can also just like call your supports and go fight mid as 4 or something like that. Try and take their tower, and suddenly the map's more wide open, and the other team has to do other shit. But yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head by saying it's a drafting issue, and probably just don't draft heroes that are easily countered. That
I would
can't
say
farm.
I would say the fix is to change your mentality on losing gold. If your supports are dumb and they're not picking support, either you pick a support early and you swap them, or you lose gold and then they'll pick a support eventually. The amount of people that I've seen hovering over disruptor for the entire draft, and then it gets the 5th pick and they just pick disruptor into heroes that it's not good against. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? How are you at this rating? How are you here when you're doing that? You would literally be playing with Sumail and winning TI with OG if you didn't do this, because that's how bad it is. These are literally TI caliber players and they're in like legend because they're doing this dumb shit. So you can't let your team do that. You can't let your team get away with that. You just got to make them lose gold, and people are greedy. So I played an unranked the other day on a Smurf. I played an unranked with some of my. I'm trying to get another immortal Smurf that I can use to practice on. So it's still a high rated game. It's still like an immortal game. And this guy, I had this guy on my team, and he's like, I said like, hey, can you pick carry? They picked the offlane and they picked the 4 roll, so you know what you're laning against. And he said, no, I'm not doing that.
Right, of
And
course.
then I said, we'll see about that. And I just watched the gold tick down, and I knew he came first in the list. So he was going to random before me, because that's how it works. It goes left to right. And he eventually picked in the game. It went fine for him because he saw what he was laning against.
Of
He
course.
saw like 4 to 5 of the heroes on the enemy team. It was a totally, but I didn't want this guy to ruin the draft like that, because I knew that I could get this counter pick. I knew that he was just picking this hero that was going to be fine anyway. It's like you get so much more out of the draft if you're actually abusing these counters, if you can.
Yeah, I will say that if you are a core role and you clearly see the other team's counterpart to your role, just pick. Like, who cares? That's fine. Like, there's a reason that pro teams are willing to draft a carry in the first 2, because they are probably picking it with a strategy in mind, or they're picking it against a hero that's already showing. Especially if you are, like Jenkins is saying, if you can see the offlane and the 4 roll, and you're the carry, you should probably pick, because you're going to have a fine game, and you're going to give your teams an even better game, because they can also then counterpick the heroes.
I want to say this in regards to, somebody said I was shitting on Smurfs before, and then I just said that I played on a Smurf. This Smurf is like 7K, so it's
not really a Smurf.
It's the exact same rating as well. It's like 300 MMR less than my main, but it's in the exact same bracket. It's more so.
But how many games did you ruin to get there, Jenkins? How many bad people did you stomp on your way?
None at all. It literally it's not even in ranked. So it's just unranked, which has very little matchmaking associated with it. And I do want to say, I know this is an excuse, but I do want to say that the only reason that I'm smurfing, that I have a smurf for a second to play in a second account, is because if you queue at like 3 a.m., which I often do, you cannot get games without other smurfs. So I'm literally only reserving that for the period where I want to play, and there's only smurfs and boosters out. So I don't just lose MMR in my main for that. But if smurfing was like illegal, you get the death sentence. Well, that's not fair. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But I would not give a shit if they said, no smurfing. Like, smurfing is a bannable offense. Like, thank God. I wish everybody wouldn't, but it's like the whole, cycle of abuse issue, where it's like, I'm getting smurfed on, so I feel like if I don't smurf, I'm going to lose a shitload of MMR just to take this moral high ground on my main. But my desire to get 8K MMR is so much higher than my desire to stand on a moral high ground and say, well, you're all smurfing, but I'm not.
Right.
You know, when I'm talking about these asshole Smurfs, I mean people that are playing in Legend as an immortal and stomping with Meepo mid. Like,
Right.
fuck those people. They're rooting games for new players, but the like second account people that are playing in their same bracket, that's like a gray. That's like a it's like a gray area. Still probably bad, but that would be solved by taking away the Legend Smurfs and the boosters and so forth.
Yep.
In my opinion. Maybe it's just all a fucking excuse. Who knows? Okay. So let's see. Party. I was watching Synderen play Axe, and he was building Phase Vanguard Dagger. I was wondering if position 1 Axe with this item and talents could be good in your opinion. I was thinking about treads into Vanguard, into Yasha, into Manta if you have space, or Abyssal if you need to fight. The other is BKB into Assault Cuirass. At level 10, you would take the 40 attack speed, of course, 30 movement speed, proccing Counter Helix on auto attacks talent. As for small stat items, I would decide between Wraith Bands, not a fan of that, Bracers, or Blows of Haste. I was thinking about it, and probably will never try it myself, but the Flash Farm with the capability of the Axe Manta seems so good, and with the Abyssal, the attack speed seems so good. Maybe some carry player will try it if they think it's any good.
I think it sounds like not a carry. Axe he just doesn't do enough damage. Like, even if you think about the counter helix proccing attacks, it's just adding 160 damage to your attack. That's not even that much in the grand scheme of things for a carry.
Every like 5 or 6 hits, it'll do that.
Right. So it actually, a level 20 talent increases your DPS by like 40, which is not very much, right? I will say I have played this style of Axe before. Like, when the talents first came out, I was experimenting with it, and I was going like, I think I was doing phase into like S and Y Blink Mjolnir or something like that. And it was pretty fun. It worked pretty well against illusion heroes. And I think I even won a couple games with it against normal heroes. I don't think it's a carry. I don't think the hero should ever be played as a carry. And that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
I would just say, if you go into a lobby, so Party was saying the Manta damage, I'm assuming when you pick up a Manta, and let me level up here. When you level up, I'm assuming you get the counter helix attacks proc on the illusions. And that's where I'm assuming people think that the damage comes from. But I would say, go into a lobby, give a Terrorblade or an Anti-Mage or a Chaos Knight the same amount of net worth that you're giving an Axe.
There you go.
And it will 5x the damage. I assure you. Let me see. Does it work? God, he is not spinning. Oh yeah, it does work, but it's not that much. It's really not that much DPS.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Manta is probably low-key an underrated item on the hero, just because I do think that anytime I get Illusion Rune on Axe, I'm like, oh, this is amazing, because you can just farm like 7 creep waves. So you can definitely accelerate your farm with Manta on Axe, but what does it actually do? Right? What does it actually do? Not a whole lot. Maybe there's some like some credence to doing like a, I don't know, like a bots Manta blink kind of thing, where you can set up for yourself by like throwing Manta illusions down a lane and then like coming in behind them with a blink dagger to catch people responding to it. I don't know.
Well, the difference with an illusion rune in a Manta is Manta costs 125 mana on an 891 at level 25 mana hero. And also, illusion runes last 75 seconds. And Manta lasts 20 seconds. Yep. How in God's name are you gonna... The reason the illusion rune is so good is because you can send 2 illusions to cut 2 waves. Yep. Your Mantas will get halfway down a lane and they'll despawn. You're not going to be able to cut a wave with... You can cut 1 wave with Manta if you're adjacent in the jungle to it. So that's my problem with it. But I mean, like Donnie said, I feel like anybody who's played Axe has experienced the glory that is getting an illusion rune, and then you always have that inkling feeling in the back of your head, man, I wish this was permanent. Like, I wish I had an item that could do this.
Right.
But to me, a Manta style just doesn't cut it. You wish it did, but it doesn't. An Illusionist Cape, that's a different story. That thing's
hell
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Hell yeah.
That thing's pretty goddamn cool. But a Manta style, no way. And the problem with Axe 2 is that, in my opinion, he's not strong enough to be a carry. He doesn't do enough damage to be a carry. And as an offlaner, all the items that you need, you can farm without a Manta style. You don't need to accelerate your farm to get a Blink Dagger, to get a Crimson Guard, to get a Blade Mail, to get a BKB. These are relatively small items. You're not building into Bloodthorn, Scotties, these huge items. There's a lot of small ones, right? So you don't need to accelerate your farm that much anyway. So I'm a huge Axe fan, and I've had the exact same idea.
I like Big Axe also.
But did I just miss it? What is that?
You just said you liked huge Axe. You're a huge Axe fan. I'm
a huge Axe fan. Are you an?
I'm also.
Are you an Axe or titties kind of man?
Definitely Axe.
What about both? Because Axe has big pecs.
I mean,
anyway,
I'll take whatever I can get. So.
At this point, yeah. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. But I wish it worked. So let's see. Let's move on. Okay. Putsy McCoy says, question: when is a niche item pickup actually a good decision to deal with a specific win condition in a specific game? And how do you identify whether you are overthinking it? For example, is Diffusal an acceptable item choice in PA when they have a Dusa on the enemy team? Yes, I think so. It seems easy to overthink it and harm your own carry potential. I would say where people are most prone to overthinking it is when you have other heroes that already deal with the problem at hand.
Yeah.
You know, if you have other heroes that are building mana burn, maybe you have an Invoker, maybe you have an OD. Well, I guess he doesn't really. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe there are other heroes that can deal with the Medusa, or there's a better way to beat the Medusa by just saying, okay, we're going to get a Deso on PA and to end early before Medusa is strong. That's all fine. That's usually when people are overthinking it. But I would not see a Diffusal pickup on a PA against a Dusa and think that that's overthinking. I feel like that's a fine choice. It's already like very close to being a good item on PA. It's unfortunate you don't get the crit from like that bonus damage that comes from the mana burn. It doesn't, obviously not affected by the crit, but it's still one of the best agi damage items in Dota. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really think that the big issue that people tend to have is that they're trying to do too many jobs at once with their hero. Just like figure out what your job is on the hero. And there's definitely games where having certain items are super good. Like one of my favorite examples is back when like Radiance Bloodseeker was the way to go, I was going into SNY, like SNY Radiance was my build, and then I would split into the Manta. And then in a lot of games, if I was against like a Drow or an OD or something like that, I'd build a Halberd on Bloodseeker, which is like not a normal item on that hero. But it fits so well because you want to just run in and you want to be able to just stop damage coming at you. And so I think in that sense, like it can be really, really good to pick up these niche items if it's not like a traditional one. But if it's, like you said, doing a redundant job, probably avoid it.
I would say, you know, ideally, if you have a PA, you probably want somebody else to do some dealing with the Medusa. And you're probably better off just trying to like beat the Medusa through timing. But if you go late and you have to, yeah, you can get a Diffusal. But yeah. Anyway, depends on the situation. I agree with what Donnie said. Anyway, Grand Garden says, hello, can we talk about infused raindrops? Who should buy it and when? I rarely see it these days, neither in my pubs or in pro games. Could also just me being ignorant. People buy raindrops. Mm-hmm. Raindrops are fine. I would say raindrops are good when the enemy team is like very heavily reliant on some sort of magic burst to kill you. And if a raindrop can make it so that a lot of the time you can buy a raindrop and it's the difference between the enemy team being able to kill you and being able to not kill you.
Yep.
Like if there's like a Lina on the enemy team, for example, that Lina can't kill you if you have a raindrop a lot of the time. If you have like a raindrop plus some tanky items, she can't kill you solo. It eliminates that opportunity. So that's like one less bad thing that can happen to you in that Dota game. And obviously, you eliminate the most amount of bad things in a game. Nothing bad happens. You win the game. So yeah, like Tiny, it's good against Tiny too. This hero just like bursts people in one hit. So if you survive, if you take one less tick of Avalanche, you'll survive a lot of the time, and then he can't hit you more than once. So
Right.
a lot of the time, raindrop will keep you alive. That's how I see a raindrop. Is I'll go like, depending on the game, I'll go like bracer raindrop or like bracer raindrop, and it's like it just makes me unkillable. If that's not possible, then I just say fuck it and get bigger items and just try not to die in other ways, you know. But a lot of the time, you can just build these like small tanky items, including a raindrop, and the enemy team just can't kill you.
Yeah.
In the early game, I should say.
The only times it's not good is if you're against something like a Zeus who has just like a lower cooldown and like can get rid of your raindrop in a matter of seconds. But if you're against somebody that uses spells pretty regularly and you're getting hit by them pretty regularly, even something like a Legion commander, if you're having to play in the creep wave and he's overwhelming oddsing you, it can
Yeah,
be
Legion a lot of the time can't kill you from full HP if you just have a raindrop.
Right.
Because they need that overwhelming odds damage to get you from full to zero.
Yeah. And to be quite frank, there's no other item in the game that gives you what, like 720 health for 225 gold effectively. That's super high value.
It's nice, yeah. It's unfortunate it doesn't build into to earn anymore, obviously, but
yeah,
whatever.
That was nice.
Can we talk about the new MMR system that was released today? What that might mean. So we already did a video about it. I would say check that out for our initial thoughts. But my thoughts in terms of what has changed since then, for me, I'm
Nothing.
playing the same. Yeah, I'm playing the same matchmaking. I do really like that they've consolidated the medals to just be one. I think it was really confusing having two.
Mhm.
You would, like I said at the start of the podcast, you would have supports that were ranked 20 that would have less MMR than rank 100 cores. And that just didn't make any sense to me. I don't feel like you should. It's very hard for people to formulate an idea of what a rank 20 really means when on a support scale, it means less than being rank 80 or 100 or whatever on a core. That's just weird. I don't feel like there should be a difference in terms of judging somebody's skill based on their rank. I like the new interface. I really do, with like the ranked find match button, and it shows your rank there now. You can hover over it. You see your little triangle for what you're good at. Like I really like this in terms of quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like this was what role queue was supposed to be at the start, is something that's like refined like this, and perhaps a little bit complicated, but also kind of fun that you have these different places in the octagon and levels to which you can play each role.
Yeah, I agree.
I like where it's at. I'm a fan of this.
Me too. It is a little bit confusing sometimes, like as somebody who is playing role queue, and like I'll queue into one game and I'm this MMR, queue into another game, this is my medal, queue into another game, this is my medal. But at the same time, I understand what they're doing with it, where it's like they're basically.
How big is the difference, by the way? Like, how much are you getting in terms of like your medal dropping or increasing or whatever?
Oh, every game is worth 30. So it's not like it scales how much you win or lose.
No. I mean your rank. How much is your rank changing depending on like what role you're queuing for in the game? Like you said, it shows up as being a different rank, a different medal.
I haven't queued all 5, so I don't know what I am for offlane or mid, but my range currently is anywhere from Divine 1 to Ancient 3. So
wow, that's pretty big.
It is a pretty big difference. But then again, there was like an 800 difference between my core and support MMR going into it. So
yeah, that might account for a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure with regards to that. Like my mid is probably like 2,700 or something like that. I have no idea.
You need both, dude.
So
you need both.
I'll have to queue for a mid just to find out what my actual medal is there. I wonder if it actually would let me be like a legend mid or something like that, because that's probably what I am, just because I never fucking play it. My mid hero pool is literally Zeus and DK, and that's it.
Although let me say, going back to what we talked about at the start of the podcast in terms of if matchmaking had more, I guess, complicated MMR rewarding and stuff based on like. Okay, basically what I'm saying is I think that because you're a divine player, even if you started out as a legend mid, after like 5 games, you would be a divine mid. You know, if you really practice and try to study it,
Right. Yeah.
because
Totally.
you're just relearning the same lessons for that role.
Yep.
Whereas for like a legend player, they have to learn those lessons from the
scratch.
ground.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I do think that like that would be abusable if you could go play legend mid, because I think very quickly you could become a divine mid. Maybe not exactly divine 3 or whatever your current rank is, because I feel like when you get to 90% of the way there, it gets way harder to get that last 10%. But you could definitely get 90% there pretty goddamn quickly.
Right.
You know, a lot of people start a business, they sell it, and then very quickly from scratch, they have another business that's getting investors, and it's just, Elon Musk with PayPal, for example.
It's not like he forgot how to do business because he sold,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. You don't really start from scratch.
Right. It's the same reason why, somebody will make a Smurf, and it's not like they're suddenly a 2K player because that's what the account is. Like, they're still a 7K player because they do all the things that 7K players do. And so that's the main difference.
Yep. Okay, so Emo says, thanks to all evil alchemists, I am beginning to get better, to you evil alchemists, that's us, better at seeing the whole game as I'm in it, but I'm still mostly blind. We're all blind when it comes to Dota. I'm having trouble hitting my pull and stack timings, but I feel like this is fixed through repetition. Yes. So Emo's only played 600 games. Yep. So Emo's pretty new to Dota. And it's funny because if you're playing a lot of other games, it'd be like, dude, that's a lot of hours. But in Dota, it's like your baby.
Right. Literally.
That's nothing. So now, in order to widen the blinders further, I'd like to ask, how the hell can I tell if my teammates are doing a good job? I see you both clicking different parts of the map to check up on your team, but if you spend less than a split second, I can't figure out what info you're getting in that time. What am I looking for? Okay, I can tell you. So what I often look at is I'll see what items people have compared to the person that they're laning against, just to see like what, how they're farming. I will look to see what level they are compared to the guy that they're up against. So if there's like a level 6 mid versus a level 8 mid, the level 8 mid is dumpstering them and probably needs to get ganked. I'm clicking to see if people have TPs. I'm clicking to see what spells they have, what items they're going for. But for the most part, I would say to check up on your team to see how they're doing. One of the most solid indicators is just level.
Yeah.
That's like the easiest babby one. I've had that question before, and it is an interesting question. It's like, Jenkins, why do you spam open the scoreboard? It's like, I'm checking people's levels. That's how I can tell the general status of the game. I have an idea from having played like 10,000 Dota matches or whatever ridiculous number it is, how a TA should be doing at like 12 minutes. I have a pretty good idea, So if I see a TA that's like insanely over leveled for that timing by opening the scoreboard, it's like, well, okay, that guy's good. That guy's dumpstering. I need to go like make a move on that person quickly. And that's a lot of the time how I decide how to make my movements around the map.
Yeah. I also just generally try and keep an eye on item progression for my own teammates because, as you know, in pubs, communication is often not very good, and you don't want to build 2 Vlads, you don't want to build 2 urns, that kind of stuff. So sometimes you need to just do the work of them not telling you and figure out that kind of stuff. I also like to just keep an eye on like HP monopools, that kind of stuff. Is this person going to be in trouble soon? Are they going to be able to get a kill soon if I go there? And that sort of stuff can also be really helpful as far as like informing where you should go on the map with your movements in the next minute or 2.
Yep. Emo also says, thanks to you guys, I hear the cores that I'm supporting saying how good it feels to get big quick. That's very good. I'm also getting complimented on warding. That's also very good. 2 thumbs up. Keep up the great work. Thank you. You as well. Uga Chaka is back. And he says, crazy idea warning. So anybody who doesn't want to hear some bullshit, close your ears right now. Click away. Go to a speed Fortnite video. If you want to hear some crisp, clean learning. The new lore from Void Spirit says how he came into the real world to prepare the world for what's coming, something big. Plus, there have been rumors about Valve increasing their team size for Dota recently. Maybe Valve will release patch 8.00 after TI 20. What TI are we on right now? TI 20.
I think he means TI 20.
I think you probably. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, maybe that'd be cool.
See, my theory for the
Are there
development...
rumors that are there rumors that Valve's increasing their team size for Dota? I really hope that's true. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything or read anything, but that would be cool. I agree. I feel like they probably have to if they're going to be running a league. So maybe so. Yeah, I don't know. I have this crazy theory that Valve is eventually going to just like, because of the amount of work they put into the AR and the VR in terms of their company, and the amount of work that they've put into creating showcase mode in Dota. Like, no other game has showcase mode where it's like it's an entire different camera set that is like really well executed. Like, you can go to showcase mode and everything looks amazing. I am 100% sold at some point they're going to create a universe in the Dota universe, and you're going to be able to like play in VR in like the map, in the actual map, as your heroes. It could be like 20 years from now in like some weird MMO version of Dota.
I'm going to fuck up your theory here. I'm going to destroy your theory. Dota 2 was built using the Source 2 engine. So that engine would already have these camera settings and showcase mode in the actual engine itself. And that's why they put it in, because it's easy, because it was already in the engine, because they made other games with that were first person. So your whole theory is based on a bad premise. I'm sorry. But it would be easy for them to do it because they have that capability. For Midas mode, we had a VR Roshan pit that you could be. It looked like you were Roche. It really did.
That's
so
cool.
It's not like it's outside of their capabilities by the very same engine that they used that made it easy to do the showcase mode in the first place. But it's not like they went into Dota and they had to like fully program showcase mode. At least,
yeah. Whatever. Next question. Shut the.
Okay. I just ruined your little conspiracy. So Vinceptor says, "Hey, I've been playing a lot of PA recently. I was wondering if you had any advice when it comes to choosing which luxury item to go for first after your core items, mainly choosing between Abyssal, Satanic, Scotty, Ags, etc. What should be taken into consideration when making this decision? Also, good job on the streams lately, Donnie."
Thanks. Like, I feel like you need to submit a replay ID with this question.
Here, I'll tell you. Satanic against people that you need status resistance against. This is like Bloodseekers, these BKB piercing things that like a BKB is not enough for. That's Satanic.
Or against...
it's also like a second BKB. So if you need another life, get a Satanic. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes one life is enough. Abyssal probably should be your default. Broken item.
Yep.
Scotty,
probably
much less so than Satanic and Abyssal. Ags is like a 7th item.
Yeah, unless you're gonna go for the timing where you can get Rapier Aegis and an Ags.
Yeah.
No, that timing is real, but like
it is a legit timing. Yeah.
It's a very specific game that you're gonna be able to pull it off in.
Yeah, I would just say Abyssal most of the time, and then Satanic usually comes after Abyssal, and just Satanic first if all you need to do is survive. That's about it.
I had a
PA
the other day who went Chrysalis instead of BKB. We did not win that game.
This Chrysalis obsession. It's getting insane. It's actually getting insane.
Yeah.
Hawkillionaire says, I've been playing a lot of AA, and although trying him in both support roles, I feel he now must be strictly played as a position 5 since he has literally no farming ability plus no gold talent. Even though he falls behind on levels and he deals an incredible amount of damage, as well as participate in every fight just due to the global ultimate. Would you agree with this? And do you have any tips on ways to increase farm? Thoughts on maybe Midas first or second item?
As somebody who's played a lot of AA, I mean, just play it as a 5. Like, why play it anywhere else? I think the only other place you could potentially play it is as a mid against, like a last pick Alchemist or something. Or Alchemist, yeah. And as far as farming faster, I mean, just use your Ice Blast. Like you drop a little vortex in the middle of the creep wave, you ice blast the creeps, wave gone. Too bad that feels like garbage because then you can't fight for 45 seconds. You could also consider going for, if you're playing this hero anywhere else than a 5, go Mjolnir. You amp the damage like crazy with your ice vortexes, and it helps you farm.
I do gotta say, I feel like A is a pretty garbage hero right now. I don't know. It doesn't feel that useful. Maybe I'm underestimating it because I haven't seen it in a lot of pubs, but I kind of like when there's like an AA or a CM against me, and they're like, "Oh, but it's my favorite pause 5." It's like, all right, I'm just gonna eat you. That's fine.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
I eat a lich too, but he's just got this thing bouncing around doing 600 damage per hit to me, and he makes some guy immortal. So
yeah, I would
at least
also
he's got that.
I would kind of say that Snapfire has made A slightly irrelevant because it used to be like AA Void was nasty, but now it's just like if you can have a Snapfire Void, you would take that over AA Void every single day of the week.
Yeah, I'd take Snapfire over a lot of heroes in Dota.
Yep.
Hockulionaire, once again, says, "Can you discuss the silly ways to mess around and get an advantage in the offlane and describe which ones are best and in which situations you would use each one? Some examples: pull the hard camp, push the first wave, pulling the second wave behind the tier 1, doubling the wave behind tower, solo creep cutting." Dude, you just mentioned all of them. That's all of them. I don't know. Let me think. Okay, well, you can solo cut the wave. I guess it depends whether you're behind the tier 1 or the tier 2. You're behind the tier 1 if the carry can't fuck with you. You're behind the tier 2 if the carry can come over and fuck with you, and then at that point, who cares if they do it at the tier 3 because it's so far away. That's really the only difference, is like, where are you going to go with the wave? Dragging the wave is if you can't kill it and you just want the equilibrium in front of your tower. Doubling the wave is if you want the equilibrium in front of your tower and you want to give somebody a lot of solo XP, but you're going to die by dragging. That's basically, that's all I can think for creep manipulation. Pushing and pulling is what you do if the enemy team is like weaker at pushing than you, and that's like punishably so. If it's about the same and you try to do that and then they just outpush the wave and like if you try to do that against a Bloodseeker and they're smart, he's just gonna use his blood right on the wave and it's gonna push back into you, and you're not gonna be able to get the pull off because he can come over and contest. So it's like when you know that they either can't contest the pull, or when they can't outpush you and therefore they can't contest the pull, then you push pull. And that's perfectly fine. It just depends on the situation. And I think a lot of people lose some games because they draft something that can do none of these, and then they're just in a losing lane. And it's like, well, what do I do, Jenkins? Nothing. Fuck all. You lose.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you pick better heroes. That's the bottom line. Like, the best heroes are the ones that can do a lot of these things, and that's why they're good, because you always have options. So
Yeah.
but that's it. You mentioned all of them. I haven't discovered any personally, and I've been playing a lot. I've been watching a lot of replays. I haven't seen anybody do anything new in terms of creep manipulation. If they did, I would certainly make a video about it. So, because that sort of shit gets me all hot and bothered. So I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated. Eleanor says, "Comment, I forgot to add to the end of my question. I love you both so much, and thanks for the help in climbing, especially you, Jenkins." Specific shout out to me, Donnie. Hear that? Psychological thinks you speak. Granted me 900 plus MMR. I'm Divine 3 mid now.
Nice job.
Nice. Good. I like the psychological stuff a lot. Those videos don't get very many views, but
I love how that used to be like my main contribution to Dota Alchemy was the psychological stuff, and
yeah.
now you're seen as the Dota psychologist, and
Hey man,
I'm just the
it's
guy who
just
sits here and listens to you talk about it.
it's just a competition in here. You just got to do better psychology than me. That's it. That's all.
It's true. I should probably do better psychology on myself, so I stop being a waste of space.
Okay. Man, Eleanor, look what you've done. Look what you've done to Donnie. I'm just kidding. Yeah, dude, it's I wish those videos got more views, actually, the psychology videos, because they're the most fun. I feel like they're the most applicable to like other stuff in life, not just video games.
Yeah, agreed.
We talk about it a lot, even off camera. I think that's like most of our talks are like man, I woke up today and I wanted to fucking kill myself. And then I did this and I felt like I wanted to be alive. And it's like, oh shit, Donnie, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start masturbating 5 times a day. I'm just kidding. He didn't say that.
I think we should definitely. I wonder if that psychologist dude would come on our show.
That'd be really cool. I've watched a bunch of his shit, so I'm a fan. That would be really cool.
I'll have to hit him up on Twitter or something like that and be like, listen, we've got a lot of people who like the psychological side of competitive gaming. We made many videos and people are asking for more. Would you want to come do a Q&A with us?
I guess there's like the imposter syndrome of like, I feel like we're not big or important enough to be on that, but I think he's had people on there that have less viewership, I suppose, which is like the metric at which is causing me to feel insecure. So I don't even think he's the type of guy that would care about viewership. He's just interested in doing like game psychology. But
agreed,
it's what makes me feel insecure. So I'm gonna stick with it. It's like, oh yeah, Gork on there. Gork is so cool. We're nowhere near as big or cool as Gork. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. That is true. That is very true. Probably the best thing that we've done as a business is reaching out to like orgs to say like, hey, we can make videos for you.
Yep.
You would be surprised how many of them responded. And
I was surprised.
We did some video work for a few orgs now. So it's true. You don't expect it, but it happens.
Is that all the Patreon questions?
Yeah, that's it. I should have said.
That's all right. All right. Well, I think we'll probably call it there, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As we said, we are introducing a new Patreon benefit. If you are a patron supporter of any level, we're going to be doing a monthly stream exclusively for you guys. I don't know, probably like midway or late in the month, something like that. But it'll be a regular monthly stream where you guys get to pick our duo lane combo and which heroes we play. Jenkins and I will play together. We'll stream it to you, and you guys can laugh at us and make us play ridiculous stuff or great stuff, or try out combos that you've always wanted to try out, but you don't have any friends to play with. Luckily, Jenkins and I have each other, and
that's about all.
It's a very, very special bond and situation that we have. So thanks as always to our Patreon supporters, and thank you to chat for tuning in. We love you guys. This has been Alchemy Answers, episode 69. Signing
Sex position.